everyone. Ashley Mailloux and Mike Beer here with the Daily Racing Forum. We're going to take a look at the DRF race of the day for this Wednesday. It's New Year's Day. It's down at Gulfstream Park. It's race number 9, a mile turf event, the Dania Beach for 3-year-olds. And speaking of New Year's Day, we do have a promo here on the shop.drf.com website. We'll go through January 6th, 15% off if you use the coupon code NY2025. So a nice discount here. And as I mentioned, it will go through January 6th. Now, I mentioned the race of the day for Wednesday is the Dania Beach. We'll take a look here at the field, and it's a field of 8 with maybe the big name Mike being the 2 Dream On, but a horse that has shown a little bit of, distance limitations in those last couple, and it's going to need to prove that he can go a mile. And I think the big difference at Gulfstream, maybe compared to the race at Woodbine 2 back, a 2-turn mile.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, was it the distance that did him in the last 2, Ashley, or was it the competition? Both Grade 1 races there. Of course, last one at the Breeders' Cup, just in against some way tougher horses. He is the morning line favorite, I think deservedly so, with Irad taking over. And he also just looks like the clear speed of this race.
You mentioned clear speed. We'll take a look at the Timeform US pace projections for the Dania Beach. And Timeform agrees with you, Mike, that the 2 Dream On, if he wants the lead, he can have it. You can see his last 4 races all on the turf. He's been quite forward. Some of those fractions, sub 45, sub 46, and 2 of them. And when you look at others in the field, the 4, Mibago, his stablemate, likes to be forward, was able to take the pulpit in gate to wire fashion, but fractions were slower. And then you can see maybe the 7 hit that review. He could be forward. I think the thing with the 7 in here, Mike, is he's never been on the lead early.
Yeah, it's not like he's, showing a ton of speed. His first 4 starts were all sprints. And he, at times was able to race up close, but he's never shown a ton of speed. His most recent start, when they stretched him out, they didn't get that aggressive with him. I don't know. Maybe they'll get more aggressive here. It does feel like the other main speed is the 4, the stablemate of the 2. This horse, he ran pretty well last time, actually, but he did get loose on the lead.
And notice the LP, the late pace flags attached to the 8 Hammerhead, who has the outside post in here, but has been able to close, from off of it, especially 2 starts back in October up at Woodbine. We'll kick it off here, though, with the number 1, Bucaro, and we'll show a replay here of the pulpit where 4 horses exit this event at Gulfstream on the 29th. And Bucaro, he makes a decent move, Mike, but he sort of flattens, and you can see Mibago on the front end is able to carry himself and hit that review, makes up a little bit of ground.
Yeah, I mean, Bucaro runs fine in here. He got an overall really good trip in this race. And I would just, just based on this evidence anyway, and obviously he's still really lightly raced, so you don't have to pigeonhole him, but just based on that evidence, I'd be worried about him staying at longer distances, actually, because he got to save every inch of ground there. He didn't have a straw in his path. And he was never going to beat the winner anyway, but he still got outfinished for second in there. And I thought without any real excuse, he'll be a good price in here. I'm not betting him though.
And maybe you mentioned has distance limitations, but at least he'll get another crack at 2 turns on the turf course at Gulfstream. You can see his other races, 7 Ace on the Tapeta at Woodbine, Presque Isle. He's never really experienced that until more recently at Gulfstream, and does have a bullet drill coming into this event. The 2 Dream On was going to pull his replay for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf and decided not to. I mean, he was the pace setter in there, Mike, and he surrendered in terms of what he gets defeated by, 2 1/4, and his first time going a 2-turn 1 mile. But I guess the concern I have with him is we talked about, the class that he's faced in those last 2 Grade 1s. He couldn't hold on in the sore free going 6.5. I guess it really depends if he makes the lead and how he can kind of soften things for himself and just keep the fractions really soft.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they push him at all on the lead in this race, because obviously if they let him get loose on the lead in here, he'll probably be pretty tough to run down. He does have the 90 buyer showing 2 starts back. I don't know what to make of the summer. I will say that I know he blew a clear stretch lead in that race, but he moved early in there, and that pace was really fast. The 1-2 finishers, they're both top class horses. They came from last and next to last. This horse moved into a really fast pace. I thought he ran well in the summer. In the Breeders' Cup, that's the exact trip I'm sure they wanted for him. He had no trouble making the lead in there. They didn't really pressure him up the backstretch. He was still on a clear lead past the 8th pole in that race, and he just wasn't good enough. I mean, I'm not going to hold that race against him. Those horses are just better than he is. This is a better spot for him, but he's going to be a really short price. And I do think there are still questions to be answered about exactly how good is this horse.
You mentioned short price. He's 6 to 5 on the morning line. So not that we are necessarily disrespecting him, but it's tough to take that price especially when you're trying to look for value elsewhere. Rad Ortiz Jr. does have the mount. The number 3, I know. This was the 5th place finisher in the pulpit. When I go back to the pulpit, we didn't circle him in that replay. Just felt like it's an even performance. In his last 2, they've both been on the turf at Gulfstream. He's needed to show more. And to me, it's just his Tapeta races are more appealing.
Yeah, since they moved him up in class, it hasn't worked out that well for him, has it? I mean, he has had the far outside post in both of those races, so maybe moving inside, he'll get to save a little bit more ground this time, and you'll see him at least just run a little bit of a more competitive race. I mean, he really didn't do anything last time, but he was stuck wide all the way around the track, and there could never get over, always on the far outside. I mean, I have no idea if this horse is any good at all, but I do think he could run maybe a little bit better in here with a different trip.
We showed the pulpit. The number 4, Mibago, was the winner of the pulpit. And for him, he was able to win going 5 on the inner at Woodbine. Then they sent him out to Del Mar. He didn't necessarily race in a Breeders' Cup race, but he finished 5th at a big price, beaten by 2 lengths. And I thought, kind of looking at the change of tactics last time out, he went a lot quicker, but a very different trip. He was forwardly placed, and it actually worked out quite well for him.
Just dominated that pulpit last time. He was loose on the lead throughout in there, but it's not like he was, up there walking. I mean, he was going legit fractions up front. He made that whole field chase him, and he just never gave him a chance. I thought he was pretty impressive winning last time. And I think it's good news for him that even if he doesn't make the lead, his stablemate Dream On probably makes the lead this time. He has shown that he can sit and still run a competitive race. So maybe he just sits a perfect trip all alone in second here and then takes a shot at his stablemate in the stretch.
The number 5, Nothing Subtle. This is a son of Echo Town who has 3 starts, was able to graduate 2 back, but those 3 starts, they've all been on the dirt, either at 6 and 6.5 furlongs. And last time out, he faced winners for the first time. And, you look at the top 2 in there, Mike, they were just dominant over this field, and it wasn't a huge field, just 6 runners in total. Yeah,
he's just a horse who is going to have to be so much better on the turf than he is on dirt if he's going to wind up being competitive in here. And it's not like he has a ton of pedigree to be better on the grass.
No, he does not. And you can see with first-time turf, Echo Town 0 for 5. The number 6, Maui Strong. This one for Dale Romans, who I feel like it has shown a progression. He's gotten better with each and every start. Most recently was able to graduate at Churchill against maiden specialweight competition. And he was rolling from the back of the pack with fractions that weren't necessarily quick when you see the half one up in 49 3.
Yeah, it really didn't seem like that fast of a pace. This horse really ran last time. His first 2 starts I thought were okay. He really ran last time. He got an overall good trip in there, but once they wheeled this horse clear in the stretch, he charged home. Really, really impressive win, I thought. This horse, he's 8-1 on the morning line. I think he's pretty dangerous in here.
The number 7 hit that review we saw in the Time Form US Pace Projections, has the ability to be close. He's been close in the last 2 starts back. He graduated in a sprint at Keeneland, and more recently we saw was just second best in the pulpit. I think there's some upside with him going long for the second time. He's just a horse to me, though, Mike, that he always gets a piece, but he always needs to do a little bit better.
I think he's run pretty well in all 5 of his starts so far, but you're right. It's not like he's emerging with tons of excuses and some of the losses. That being said, I thought he ran pretty well last time. I mean, he maybe would be, if I was going to take somebody out of the pulpit and, just thinking that maybe Mibago has a totally different trip this time and it doesn't work out, maybe I would just hit that review because he was sort of stuck on the outside after raiding a little bit in the early stages of the race. I thought he ran fine in there. I thought he was really game to get up for second. Maybe he can move forward a little bit here. This pace could be a little bit faster even. And so maybe he just has a little bit of a different trip and can make it a little bit closer.
We'll look at the number 8, Hammerhead's start. 2 starts back, not the most recent effort, but 2 back on the turf up at Woodbine. This is on the inner turf, but the way that he graduates here, I think, is really impressive. We sort of show this replay entering the turn and now on the stretch. I mean, he had a lot of work to do. He was towards the back of the pack early. Mike only had 1 horse beaten, and he's just going to motor by everyone. And I know the figure is not flashy. It's a 64, but I just thought the way visually that he wins this race was pretty impressive.
Yeah, me too. He was really, really strong winning this race. His first 2 starts were both good too. You could see the potential in each of his first 2 starts. The Saratoga race did kind of feel like a prep with a wide trip in that race. He broke really poorly in his second start and tried, a similar wide move around the final turn before he flattened out. He was impressive breaking his maiden 2 back. I think he ran way better than it looks. He lost as the favorite last time. I think he ran way better than it looks in there. Again, didn't break that well, which is starting to become a concern for him. But that pace was super slow, and he tried to make a run around the turn in there. He kept coming through the stretch. This horse I thought ran great last time, even though he lost.
Yeah, and I think, looking at the winner, Church and State in that field did have a little bit of a jump on him, and I think that's kind of what made the difference when you look at the margin of defeat, 1 length. But I think both horses, to me, have some upside and some intrigue going forward, especially up at Woodbine. And you see Hammerhead getting back onto the grass. You have to think he's not going to run into fractions like he did last time out. So that's the field of 8 for Wednesday's Dania Beach. Nice turf event here, and curious to go to top pick time as we look at this group. I mean, the two's favored in here, Mike, but we go in different directions, and the fact that he's 6-5 maybe has some things to prove and could take play off the 6-5 morning line. And you go to the horse that we just saw that replay up at Woodbine, the 8 Hammerhead.
Yeah, I'm gonna take this horse. He's gonna have to get out of the gate cleanly in this race for openers. And then we'll just see. I do think this horse is talented, though, Ashley, and I think there's going to be enough pace for him to come after in this race. He's 12-1 on the morning line. Anything like that, I'm just going to take a shot. Maybe the 2 Dream On just wires this field, but I'm not totally sold on that horse. I want somebody else. I'm going to bet the 8.
Yeah, I'm a little intrigued too. Kevin Attard kind of talked to him about Woodbine, seeing what his plans were. He wasn't sure. And to me, to see some horses down at Gulfstream is a promising sign, might have some potential with horses like Hammerhead. So I'll use him underneath. I go to the 4, Mibago, and the fact that the way he won the pulpit, I thought was impressive. I think he's taken the right steps forward on the grass, and I don't think he needs the lead. I think he's not going to be able to get it here, even if he wants it, because of his stablemate. But even a sort of stalking trip might work for him, and we'll see what sort of action he takes. He'll certainly be in the shadow of the morning line favorite and stablemate, the 2 Dream On. So 8-2-6-7 for Mike. For me, 4-2-8-7. It's the Dania Beach Wednesday's DRF race of the day at Gulfstream Park. Good luck.